One. Happy solstice, witches.
Blessed Yule.
My name is Anya, and I'm with Sarah and Witchery.
And I'm Debbie with If the Broom Fits.
And this is our podcast, Witch
Whispers.
Today's content is going to be about Yule because today is the winter solstice.
And we want to apologize. We had this all set to do at the beginning of the week, but every single time we tried to do it, something unfortunate happened. So we just figured that the goddess didn't want us to do it yet.
I guess we were meant to do it on the solstice day.
The solstice.
So, did you want me to start or did you want to start? Okay.
Like we did on the other, 3 or 4 rehearsals.
Right? Oh my gosh. All right, witches. So Christmas time, Noel, Nativity, Yuletide, even the many different... brain break. The many different words that we use to describe the Christian holiday that celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ reflects on how this festival was born of a wide array of cultures. We've got the Vikings, Germanic tribes, and other pagan peoples of pre-Christian Europe. This celebration, known as Yule, was originally meant to honor the winter solstice. We'll get into more of that in a little bit, because Anya's got a lot to say about that. The Yule or Yuletide celebration commemorates the events of the waning year and honored the gods with a festival of song, food, drink, and sacrifice. Not necessarily human or animal, but back in the day, it was definitely an animal. But with the steady spread of Christianity through Europe, many pagan beliefs and celebrations, including Yule, were stamped out. Here's where Anya's going to go off on her thing. The earliest mention of Yule is found in the work of a chronicler and prolific historian called Bede. I think I'm saying that right. Is that right?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll call him Bede.
We'll call him
Bede. An English monk who was instrumental in the spread of Catholic Christianity in northern England. Writing in 725 CE, Common Era, Bede described the holiday of pagan Britain, Anglo-Saxons, Vikings, and other Germanic groups, noting that the old pagan calendar combined the Roman months of December and January into a single period called Yule. I think, again, if I'm chopping it up or destroying it, I'm so sorry. But what he wrote was, the months of Yule derive their name from the days when the sun turns back and begins to increase. Okay, so they didn't stamp out our traditions. Let's just make that clear.
Right.
They appropriated our traditions. So, and I love saying this. So I have a person that I know that goes, I don't celebrate Halloween. It's the devil's holiday. But I love Christmas. I always think of the whole Frozen scene where Olaf's talking about summer and Kristoff's like, somebody's got to tell him. I'm going to tell him. So I have that in my head when I look at her and go, oh, well, then you better make sure that you don't decorate a tree. You don't bring a tree in the house. You don't put up a Yule, a wreath, and you don't burn a Yule log. And this person looked at me completely, dumbfounded. Like, wait, what? And I explained to her, all of those, it's witchcraft. Mm-hmm. And they just, it broke them. It broke their brain and how they think, because they didn't realize that basically what the Catholic Church did was they rolled the old religious beliefs into their holidays. Because the old religion followers were not going to celebrate the birth of Jesus in the springtime when he was actually born. The Star of Bethlehem, y'all, only shines in Israel in the spring. So when the Catholic Church tried to get us to celebrate his birth, all the old religion followers kind of looked over their shoulder and was like, dude, we did that 3 months ago. You're late. So that's when the Catholic Church started rolling our traditions into what we now know as a traditional Christmas. Okay?
Which
Now,
I don't have a problem
yeah,
with.
no, absolutely.
They can absolutely appropriate it, but don't put us down for ours, because
Yeah,
that's
or don't.
they're putting themselves down.
Right, exactly. So, in other words, this double month was built around the winter solstice, the time when the year and the daylight which decreased steadily during the fall to the longest night of the year.
Which was last
Now,
night.
which was last night, which now the days will start getting longer. I think when I looked last at sunrise and sunsets, because I have my students do it in class, we gain about a minute and a half to 2 minutes. And then come spring, we gain a couple more minutes of sunlight. So I think that's really interesting. And when my teacher, Miss Cleta, used to have us do that, I really was just intrigued how did I not notice that before? It was just a cycle. I didn't really pay attention to it, you know. So now it's Debbie's turn.
So now we move on to the Vikings and Germanic peoples, many of whom lived in the far northern reaches of Europe, where the absence of the winter sun is felt strongest. The return of long sunny days was considered a rebirth and was celebrated in the festival of Yule or Jol.
Oh, you mean like joy?
Yeah.
Oh,
or jolly.
jolly.
Any of those kinds of things. And here we are. The origins of these words are murky, but generations of etymologists believe they are the basis for the modern word jolly in English. How you like that?
Yeah, right? We're not
you know,
magic or anything.
I'm psychic, right?
Right,
Okay.
exactly. We're not psychic or anything. We'll just go with it, you know.
So the whole season, called Yuletide, was among the most important holidays in pagan Europe, from modern day Estonia to the north of England. Yule was the highlight of the deep midwinter, a welcome respite or respite, whichever way you say
However you say it.
from the darkness and the biting cold. For centuries, the only hint at the existence of Yule was the word itself, suggesting a time of rejoicing and merriment of the darkest point of year. However, during a revival of interest in all things Vikings in the 19th century, the lost traditions of the holiday were rediscovered and were apparently not so lost after all.
Yeah, no, they were just quiet.
They were just quiet or hidden amongst all the other. So we're going to move into a few little cultures, if
there
you
we
will.
go.
So the Celtic roots, Yule, one of the main festivals of the wheel of the year, celebrated on the day of the winter solstice, is deeply rooted in Celtic tradition. It symbolizes the end of the darkest period of the year and the rebirth of light, much like the others. For the Celts, this festival held key significance as it marked the moment when the days begin to gradually lengthen and the forces of light start to overcome darkness, just like the others. Celtic mythology is closely connected with natural cycles, and Yule symbolized the struggle between light and dark forces. This festival was considered a turning point when darkness, embodied by winter forces, recedes, giving way to new cycle of light and life. In mythology texts, this was often described as the confrontation between two forces, the Dark King and the Light King. The Dark King personified winter, cold, and the death of nature, while the Light King was a symbol of the return of light, the rebirth of nature and hope, which is the holly and the oak kings.
Right.
According to myths, on the night of Yule, the Dark King is defeated, and his place is taken by the Light King, who will rule until the summer solstice. This myth embodied the changing of the seasons and the renewal of the world, reflecting the cyclical nature of existence, where light and darkness constantly replace each other.
Well, and right here is a good place to put this in. A lot of people don't understand that when we go from Samhain to Yule, we're actually going into that underworld because our days are shortening and shortening and shortening. So we used these representations because you have to remember when this practice first was coming, there was no electricity.
Right.
They were very tied to the cycles of the earth. And the first people, it's not like, they knew that the sun was coming back. And so solstice was a celebration of, the sun loves us enough to show back up.
Right. Please come back. Please come back.
So that's where this celebration began, because at Samhain, you're going into the underworld, where Day of the Dead, or, the easiest comparison to Samhain is Dia de Muertes. But when you look at that, you're actually going into the underworld. And when that light comes up, it's that reprieve from that darkness. I've heard a lot of my clients and a lot of my students lately talking about how just dark it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's the time of the year, hon.
Yeah.
We all feel like it's really dark right now. We're in the underworld.
And this is a time to use for reflection.
Absolutely.
Meditation.
Release.
And release. And purging.
Oh, big time.
Purging. Good time to clean out closets, get rid of stuff that no longer serves. Anything and everything.
Yep.
That
exactly.
does not serve you. Get rid of it. If you go in your closet, if you haven't worn it in a couple of years, why is it in your closet?
Right.
It's just taking up space.
Well, and last night I slept really good.
Yeah, me
finally.
Too.
But the night before, I couldn't sleep to save my life. It was, a noise bothered me. I just, no matter what happened, I could not go to sleep. I took a 4.5 hour nap, on Thursday night. And last night when I got into bed, I drank this beautiful turmeric ginger chai that was no caffeine. And when I got into bed, I was like, I
called that golden.
Yes.
Golden chai.
Oh, it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into bed, and my goddess is Sekhmet. I know that you guys have heard us talk about, who we follow and stuff, but Sekhmet. And I said, Sekhmet, please just help me release. I don't care anymore. I don't have to, delve deep into this and figure it out and label it and bullet point it and subtext it. Just take it. If it no longer serves me, I give it to you to transform and give back to me as something light. And as I was falling asleep, I literally felt like a vacuum was sucking the, excuse my French, shit right off me. This morning, I woke up in a mood I haven't had in months. Months. I was giggling at shit that I would ignore before, but I just found joy in everything. And I was like, that is the release I was looking for.
So what better gift could you give yourself?
Exactly.
Than to purge and release and wake up the next morning refreshed and renewed.
Absolutely. And taking the time to just, for the first time in a long time, I felt really wonderful. And I've had a very strained relationship with my daughter. She contacted me first this morning and wished me a happy solstice, which just really just warmed my heart, because we've been struggling.
A little estranged.
Yeah, we've been struggling some. And so to have this happen was just like, for me, that was that I let it go. I didn't have to look at it. I'm not going to tear it apart and have to analyze it. And with my Capricorn moon, I'm all about analyzing shit. But it was just this. I realized I'm not wearing my shoulders as earrings. Let's put on a pair of earrings. My shoulders aren't there. So releasing is one of the most beautiful gifts that you can give yourself.
Right.
I just wanted to put that in there.
And I'm Libra, so it's all about balance. And I was struggling last week because I was working too hard at it.
Yes.
Trying to find that balance. Whereas if I just sat back and let go, there it was.
It found its own way.
Yes, but people say, well, that's easy to say. It's not easy to do. Yes, it is. It's very easy, but you have to put your mind to it. It's like intentions on candles, intentions with whatever you're doing. Put that intention in your mind and be a Nike.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
Hocus pocus, which just focus.
Yes.
And that's the thing. When you have those kind of things and it's pulling your brain like that, the self-awareness that comes when you release those kind of things, help you to say, up, up, up. We're going down the old path. This is an old pattern. We're releasing that, remember? And then reprogramming that wiring in the brain, in the cortex of the brain, saying, it's okay to feel like this for a moment, but you know what? I'm not going to live here.
Yeah, it serves no purpose except to make you upset, which in turn you
now you're projecting
dish
it
out to everybody else and make them upset.
Right. It's like you project how you're feeling on it because you can't help it. You're a radio antenna and you broadcast. What are you broadcasting?
Yes.
So, like, for example, yesterday we had our Yule party and all of a sudden we had customers.
One
and
right
we're like, and somebody said to me, I think it was Bonnie. I think Bonnie said to me, what is going on? I'm like, we have got a party going on. We are shining, saying, come have fun with us. You know, because that's what we were projecting, because we were in that place of pure joy.
Right. And people tend to go to the dark side quicker than they will the light side.
We are societally trained to go there.
Yes.
Quicker than the positive.
And so we have to retrain ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's part of what magic is. And that's part of what Yule is allowing, I'm going to use some computer tech here, allowing your brain to defrag. Get rid of those programs that have error codes. Get rid of those programs that no longer serve you. For example, I can't do that. That's heathen. You know what? So what? Do it anyway. It makes you fucking happy.
And it's always, like you said, you're using computer tech language here. If you're defragging, I don't leave it up to the computer. I want to see what's going away.
What code are you deleting?
Right. It might be something important that I need. Exactly. So it's the same way when you defrag your spirit, your body, your mind. You need to visit those. Say them. It's not, your jaw isn't going to fall off. Your teeth aren't going to fall out. Say it. If it's, I'm still angry with my ex, but there's no reason. Okay. That was a release.
Yep.
Right there.
Exactly. Because you recognize it.
Don't hide from it, because then it pops up like this evil, snake that's ready to strike at any moment.
And I have found that hiding from it makes it go from the size of a squirrel to the size of a lion.
Right.
Because it's like, you're not going to pay attention to me? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to come around again and I'm going to say, oh, you're going to nag me? Okay, I'll give you time. But this time when I come back around, now I'm a wolf. Now I'm a lion. Now I'm an elephant.
And I can use myself as an example. Every year, around this time, I'm like a duck. Okay, think about a duck.
Yes.
They're floating on the water nice and smooth. Underneath, their little feet are going. And that's me. I look very calm, cool, and collected. Inside, I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this done. And it has to be done by this time. And this year, I have made a spiritual and mental practice of release. I've got things that are on our e-board that were supposed to be for the holidays for sale. They weren't here on time. Instead of getting bunged up and irritated about it, it's like, put them out when they get here.
Or, guess that wasn't supposed to happen right now.
Right, exactly like our...
exactly like this podcast that we're recording out late.
We tried 4 times, just so you guys know.
We really honestly did. We were so pissed at several. We're like, what the hell?
So, and then when I don't do things like that, every year around January or February, I get super sick.
Yeah.
And it's because I haven't released the year's ache, if you will.
But that goes to a healing point of view there too. That if you don't release old energy, it can become a physical dis-ease in the body.
Which makes you susceptible to disease.
Yeah, your immune system goes down.
You know?
Exactly.
So if you don't take care of yourself, so the time off, we were just discussing when we're going to be open and when we're closed. So the time off that I take, I plan on using that to enjoy, first of all, my husband's return home after 9 months. I'm so happy about that.
Such gratitude.
Yes. And he didn't leave me, just so you guys know. He was actually recovering from surgery.
It was a good thing in a challenging way.
Yes. And that, you can bring
it's
that
all
to
about
the holidays.
Gratitude.
There were things that he and I had to release so that we could continue our relationship.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know who all has suffered this, but when your partner has had something as detrimental to his life, I mean, just so you know, he came right out of an injury to cancer. So he had to go radiation and all that. The last 3 years have been literally hell. And our relationship struggled. So we have had to take this time to release all of that garbage.
Absolutely.
And get back. Actually, we're not getting back. We're going forward into
a
new relationship.
I like that. Change that perspective of the word you're using.
Yes, because I don't want to go back to, we got married when we were 20. So we've been living in each other's back pockets for over 40 years. I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
I want a whole new relationship.
Yeah.
And that's what we're working on. So, and I don't mean to spill all that. That is just because I know myself. And so I know how to explain it.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think that it would help the listeners too to say, wow, my last 3 years may have been pretty bad, but I'm grateful it wasn't that bad.
Yes. And you need to look at people with that observation all the time, because
compassion.
Yes. You're standing in line for a coffee and the person up ahead is just going off on the barista and very, very upset and yelling and whatever they
Rudeness.
do. Yes. And you think, oh my God, what's wrong with them? Well, that is a good question, but more in a positive. What happened to them?
Yeah.
To cause them to be that way.
I have a friend of mine. I love her to death. And when people act like that, she will walk right up to him and she'll go, "Child, who hurt you?"
Point me in the right direction.
"Child, who hurt you?" And all of a sudden, person goes, "What? Oh." Yeah. When I see that in line, I try now. If they get abusive, I will actually step forward and say something. Right. I am not that kind of person to allow that shit to happen.
And I always apologize to the barista or the cashier or the waitress.
That's what I was going to say. When I get up to him,
you had to deal with that.
That's what I was going to say. When I get up to him, I'm like, I'm so sorry that some humans are just asshats. Here's an extra tip.
You don't know. Maybe their mother just died.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know.
Exactly. And to leave it, I'm so sorry that person did that to you. And smile, make a joke, turn their day around. They just got their ass reamed. How can you change that? By smiling at them and going, "You're really doing a good job, honey."
And, I just told a woman that the other day. I was in a store that was pretty packed.
Oh, yeah.
Holiday shopping, and she accidentally hit me with her cart. And I looked at her and she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Please don't take offense or anything." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not. I know."
Girl, when there's not elbow room for the humans, let alone a cart. Come on.
And she was smiling and I said, "You know what? That right there makes it all better, because it's so nice to see people smiling while they're shopping."
And the fact that she apologized for bumping you.
Right.
That seems to have been lost. Basic manners seem to have been lost.
Everybody's angry.
Yeah. And I'm tired of it. I refuse to be at the effect of this bullshit.
Right. Well, that's the change of thinking.
Exactly. And this is the perfect time to do it.
Exactly.
At Yule. Wow, that was a really cool sidetrack, but let's get back to where we were going.
We just had a spark. We were looking for jeans. Damn it.
At least we turned on our turn signal and y'all went with us. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so back to Yule. Okay, so Yule was also an important time for strengthening social and family ties. This is a big deal to me because I hear so many people like, oh my God, I have to be with the family. You know,
God,
when
you
you
know what
ask
I
them
would do to be with my
how
family?
how long has it been since you've seen your family? Oh, 6 months to a year. I'm like, you can't spend 2 or 3 hours with your
Well, and,
family and be nice
but
and
it also
enjoy
makes you think about your family too. I mean,
them.
my mom, I would do so. I would love to be with my mom and my dad. They're in their
Hmm.
late 70s or mid 70s, excuse me. And I would love to spend the holiday with them. They're in Arizona. I'm in Oregon.
Right,
You know, right now my husband's unemployed. It's not in the budget, you
right,
know.
right,
But at the same time, you really have to look at what kind of family is that?
right.
Because with my family, I would love to be with my family. I mean, I texted them this morning, they texted me back. Even though they're practicing Catholics or practicing whatever they may be, I love them for who they are.
Hmm.
And so, but what I love about what I'm lucky about is my family honors me. And when I say happy solstice, they come back with happy solstice.
Right. Honor what they practice.
And I think that's something that's been lost is honoring each other and understanding that.
For what you believe, for
Yeah.
what you do, for how you participate,
And
all of these things.
And
are
for people who
important.
have abusive families, and this is why we have friendsgiving
Mhm.
and, you know, friends holidays and stuff. Find a group that you want to be with.
Right.
Community is a vital part.
And that's what I'm saying. It's strengthening social and family ties.
Well,
Not just if you just absolutely cannot stand to be around your family,
or it's abusive or traumatic,
or it's abusive, whatever, if you're fearful, whatever, find other people to be with. Don't just sit and mull over ugly things and past,
yeah,
you know,
release them. If you
yes.
got to go through them,
and don't
just
look in
release
that.
them.
Don't look backward because you're not going in that direction.
And when you're reprogramming your brain, you will look backwards, but instead of getting angry at yourself, just go,
Done with that.
I've already
Yeah.
visited that
Yeah.
and released that. I'm going to focus. It's a consciousness. It's
Right.
an awareness of, ooh, I didn't want to do this anymore. Let's go this way.
Yeah, you have to figure out how important are you
Yes.
to yourself. How important is your family, friends, whatever, your social group,
your community.
Right. How important is that? Is it important enough to reprogram yourself?
Yeah, exactly. And if it is, then when you
Get on it.
reprogram yourself, what you will pull to you
Mhm.
are the people that will be your community.
Right. They will have your back.
Absolutely.
Always. So it's important. That was an important time. Some families, even though they lived in the same villages or whatever, then didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with each other because they were working the fields from daylight till,
till sundown.
So this was a time to enjoy each other, share recipes, share thoughts,
and
ideas.
And two, going back to when these traditions were first brought about, this was how you gathered warmth as well. The more people in a building, the more warmth it was. The more warmth it was. And think about it, you have a big lodge, you're using a whole lot less firewood at home. So that can save you through the winter.
Right.
And I mean, it was a way of connecting. And right now, and COVID has had and still has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of people suffer now from hermetism, and they need to reconnect with community.
Right. So people gather together to share food and the joy of the rebirth of light, spending this time surrounded by loved ones. Festive feasts, ritual banquets, and the giving of gifts were symbols of unity and support during the darkest period of the year. Now think on that. These were symbols of unity and support, not, oh my God, they want an iPad and I have to get that for them.
Did you happen to know that one of the best gifts that you could get before the advent of technology was an orange?
Yes, I did.
Fresh fruit,
especially citrus.
Yeah, well, because think about it, they didn't know about, what was it, the gingivitis or whatever it is of the mouth. And when you have that citrus, it kills that, and it makes your teeth healthy. It makes the vitamin C helps your body.
Right. Well, also the tools that they ate with were usually wood.
Yep.
Those platters were called trenches. So guess what? What's trench mouth?
Yep. It's
That's
the
what it's
bacteria.
from. And so these were special gifts to give to someone and to spend time with them. And like I said, that's how, if somebody learned how to do something over the summer months for their harvesting, for their crops, for
their crafts,
women
weaving,
doing candles, all of that kind of stuff.
Preserves.
Right. You would share that with each other. The celebration of Yule included special rituals dedicated to Cyrano. These rituals symbolize the support of the life forces restored with his rebirth, which is the god of Old Man Winter, King of the Woods, that kind of thing.
The sage.
Yep. One of the central ceremonies was lighting the sacred fire, symbolizing the return of light and the strength of the horned god. Now, have you ever done anything with your family on this?
When my kids were little, we used to do little things. But I always, on the longest night, I did a divination for our family. This was when I first got into witchcraft, like 30 some years ago almost. But I have the party light snow globes. And I didn't have a crystal ball at the time, but I would light that sucker up. I would make the snow glow and I would gaze into it. I didn't really realize I was crystal ball reading. But I would do that. The kids and I would, going out and getting the tree. We'd leave a gift at the base of the tree that we were cutting down as thanks to the earth for providing us with the evergreens, that kind of stuff.
We always tried, in my immediate family here, with my now grown adult children, we would go and do all of the things that were old-fashioned. Cut the tree. Poor Jim, he had to climb all the way up into the top of the oak tree and find the best mistletoe because the kids had to have the best, that kind of thing. We made our own boughs to put on the door.
We made wreaths one year.
All kinds of things like that. And one of the things that we did on the winter solstice eve was the oldest child turned off all the lights and we sat in black. And we would sit there and talk. And then one of them, which was usually our middle child, because we have three, she would light a small candle and we would talk about what that meant to the darkness of the room and the house. And then the youngest would go around and turn on all the lights in the house. Every single one. And this was a game and it was fun, but it was also a way of teaching them
to reflect.
Yes. And how Yule winter solstice worked, that you were in the darkness and then the return of the light. And they loved it.
One of our elders, before their husband passed away, they used to have a Yule party every year. And when you first arrived, the house was dark. And when we started, after, of course, saying hello and, there's candles lit here and there, but not many.
Right.
Because again, it's the darkness we're looking at, but of course we have elders, so you want to be able to make sure they can see and not hurt themselves.
Important. So the darkness is important in the house.
Exactly. And then everyone would bring a small little tea light or a candle in a candle holder, whatever they chose to do. And then the host would say something about solstice and the coming of the light. And then as we went around, we would light each other's candles from that one from each other. And that was a way of good. It was also a way of getting to know your community members.
Yes. So one of the central ceremonies was lighting the sacred fire.
There we go.
Symbolizing the return of light and the strength of the horned god. Fire played a crucial role in Yule rituals, embodying not only the sun, but also the life force of Cyrano. Participants gathered around bonfires, reciting incantations and calling upon the god to return to the world of the living. The sacred fires lit on the night of Yule continued to burn, symbolizing his rebirth and renewal. So, moreover, offerings were made during the rituals in the form of, like you said, fruits, grains, and meat, symbolizing fertility and Cyranosa's connection with the earth. These offerings express gratitude for the life he grants and for the protection he provides to his followers during the winter.
And I want to add something here about the Yule log.
Mm-hmm.
In many traditions, when you do your Beltane pole and you dance the maypole, in some traditions, when they took it down, everyone would get a cut from that Beltane log. That was their Yule log.
Mm-hmm.
And so that way they were releasing that, whatever they had asked for. They were basically giving gratitude and saying, thank you for this. And may this continue until Beltane again, which is in May. And so the Yule log was very, very important back then.
Yeah, in our tradition, we always, burned the Yule log, which I'll talk about in just a minute because we had a different take on it. And then we let it get down to a very small piece, pull it aside, let it cool in the fireplace. Once it was completely cold, we would wrap it up as a gift, put it in with our holiday decorations, and then the next year, to light the new Yule log, we would put that with it.
Oh, see, that's nice. I like that.
That.
That's beautiful.
And when we made our Yule log, because I used to be a florist, so everything's got to be fancy.
Right.
Got to have glitter everywhere and all that kind of stuff. You know me and my glitter.
I love you and your glitter. Keep it over there.
Right. Anyway, what I would do would cut little pieces of parchment, and people would come up to the Yule log and they would write what they wanted.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Roll it up and stick it in with the Yule log greens somewhere. So this thing looked like a porcupine once it was done because it was full.
Absolutely.
We would set it in on the grate with the candles burning, and as they burned down, they lit all the greens and all of these Yule messages and everything on fire and burned the Yule log. So that was something that we did.
And if you don't have a safe place to burn stuff, then you can do it in other ways. You can do it in a simmer pot on your stove. Like I have a friend who has a fireplace. So if I really wanted to do that, I know I can go over there and use their fireplace. Right. We don't have a fireplace in our apartment. So, but we have a maypole. We still haven't burned since our time as Mayma and Maypa, and that needs to be burned.
Yeah.
We have been holding on to it for so long.
And
it needs to be released.
Yes, you've been holding on to
exactly it. Because it was part of us when we were king and queen for the Beltane year, and that was, oh my god, 6 years ago now, almost 7. No,
and so whatever energy is in that,
it needs to go, and it's been in our place in our home for that time, so it's been absorbing. We need to let it go. It's old. It's time to go.
And so for us, doing something like that, what we would do was on one side of the parchment, we would write what we wanted to release. And on the other side, what we would like to receive.
Right. Because once you release, you have that available space.
Yes.
And you need to fill it with something that you are looking for. Like, for example, I release my anger and I replace it with compassion or understanding or whatever it is.
And so many people think that Yule logs, they're pretty.
Yeah. Well, they are. They're beautiful.
They're beautiful. They make a nice centerpiece, but they're an actual tool.
Right. And another way to do it too is if you don't have a log to use, go find a pine cone that's all opened up. You can do the little slips of paper into the pine cone.
Right.
And then find a place to dispose of it and throw it away. Don't like fire? Don't have a way to do fire? Great. Bury it.
Well, you can any kind of release.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can do that.
Water,
And
smoke.
by the way, you don't have to have a fireplace. What if you have a barbecue?
There you go. You could totally do a barbecue.
That we did that for years.
Yeah, we could totally use a barbecue.
You know, anything
Absolutely.
like that that's fireproof.
And remember to look up, look around, make sure you have a fire extinguisher.
Mm-hmm.
Fire can be greedy, y'all. So keep an eye on her.
Right. So now we move into the Roman traditions. Ancient Romans held several celebrations around the time of the winter solstice. Saturnalia, a holiday in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture, was a week-long celebration in the days leading up to the winter solstice. It also was a hedonistic time.
What, you mean a party? What?
Yes. When food and drink were plentiful and the normal Roman social order was turned upside down. For a month, enslaved people were given temporary freedom and treated as equals.
Mm-hmm.
Business and schools were closed so that everyone could participate in the holidays' festivities. So that's a cool thing. I wish that were something we could do now.
I would. Well, and that's just the thing. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have seen a lot of people saying, wow, I'm really having a hard time getting into the holiday spirit. Mm-hmm. And then when I watch them, they're not having a hard time getting into the holiday spirit. They're having a hard time getting involved in the greedy consumer backdrop that this holiday has now been shrouded in.
Yes.
We're yanking that shroud off, going, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to give one gift, and it's going to be extraordinarily thoughtful. Mm-hmm. Or like for me, this year, I don't have a lot for gifts, but I'm making things for people. Like my kids, they were like, Mom, we're going to make dinner. And I was like, great. What do you want for dessert? Well, I happen to know that my grandson, who's autistic, loves my peanut butter cookies. Mm-hmm. So what am I going to do for him for Christmas? I don't have to buy him a jogging suit. No. I don't have to buy him a toy. I will, small, but I'm also going to make him some peanut butter cookies because that's something he loves, and I know him enough to do that.
Well, if you will pardon me using a TV, thing
Show.
to example to thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like struggling.
I know
for words.
It's okay.
But it's like, the Big Bang Theory. Sheldon, when he got the box of his Mima's cookies for Christmas.
It feels like a hug.
It tastes like one of her hugs. So I'm sure that's the way your grandson feels when he gets his cookies. So be thoughtful with your gifts. Every single gift I give is a thoughtful gift.
And that's just
I will not buy something just because.
And it doesn't have to do with how much you've spent.
Exactly.
It has to do with the thought that was put behind it.
I mean, like yesterday, I worked on every one of those gifts that I gave out to everybody.
And they were
thought
amazing.
About them, what they would like, and how it would affect their lives.
Right.
Before I ever purchased it, I always put those. I try.
Yeah. No.
Because why else would you buy or make whatever a gift for someone?
Exactly. It makes me think the consumerism makes me think of Dudley in Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. When he was like, but last year I got 53 presents and this year I only got 51.
Right.
Now we're talking about rampant consumer greed. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's all it is. It's greed.
But that's just the thing. I think that I'm very grateful that it seems like that's kind of going away. And people are like, I'm going to put a little bit of thought in this. And it's not about giving away everything you are. It's about honoring the people you love.
That's right. And people forget that.
And you don't have to honor them with $5,000 worth of gifts.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, people say to me, oh, I didn't have much, but I made you this batch of cookies. You stood in your kitchen for hours and made me cookies. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, this is one of the most expensive gifts you can give me.
And for my oldest granddaughter, she gets cold easily. I understand this. So do I.
Right.
So one of the things that she and I always used to do was when Fred Meyer's has their big sock sale, we would go to the sock sale.
There you go.
And I would buy her whatever socks she wanted to
Yep.
keep her feet warm.
Yep.
For the whole season. And
Exactly.
she loved it. It's spending time with me.
Mm-hmm.
It was spending time finding the perfect socks,
Right.
cute, whatever.
Right.
You cannot put a price on something
No,
like
it's
that.
priceless.
And
Absolutely.
I probably spent $20.
Right.
And got her socks
but
for
yet,
the entire winter.
But yet to the grandbaby, that will always be a core memory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is the most priceless thing.
It's precious. It's important. All of those things.
Absolutely.
So think about that when you go to get a gift for somebody. Not, oh my God, like I said, they want an iPad.
Well, and I get
which
it. Which
isn't a bad thing.
And it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, we're looking at that greedy consumerism.
Right. Okay, so now let's move into the Norse or Scandinavian countries. They celebrate Yule from the winter solstice through January.
Yep.
In recognition of the return of sun, fathers and sons would bring home large logs, which became known as the Yule logs.
Yep.
They would set one end of the logs on fire. The people would feast until the log burned out, which could take as many days as 12.
That's a big fucking tree. I'm just saying.
Big tree.
It's a big
But
big
they
log.
only put one end in it, and then they would scooch it up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. We do that when we're camping sometimes because we
Right.
don't have to worry about feeding the fire at night. It does it automatically that way.
So the Norse believed that each spark from the fire represented a new piglet or calf that would be born during the coming year. So that's
bacon and hamburgers, baby. Bacon and hamburgers.
So that's cool.
That's awesome.
So, and then now we move into, and forgive me for just tearing this word up. It's Inchi Raymi, if I have it right. The Inca Empire paid homage to the sun god Inchi, a winter solstice celebration called Inchi Raymi, which is a sun festival. In Peru, like the rest of the southern hemisphere, the winter solstice takes place in June. The Incas fasted for 3 days before the solstice, so they'd have plenty of room to eat everything they wanted to eat.
We're starving, Mom. We're starving.
Before dawn on the day of the solstice, they went to a ceremonial plaza. I almost said pizza. And waited for the
Are you hungry, love? Do we need to eat lunch?
No, I was just saying they fasted. So I was like, oh, a ceremonial pizza.
Right.
When it appeared, they crouched down before it, offering golden cups of chicha, a sacred beer made from fermented corn. Animals, including llamas, were sacrificed during the ceremony, and the Incas used a mirror to focus the sun rays and kindle a fire.
You know, the Incas have some really cool pyramids, and some of those pyramids still have mirrors in it.
Yeah.
And on certain solstices, whether it be summer or winter, on those solstices, they actually, those mirrors still get ignited, and you can see it, and it goes right into the pyramid. It's just so magical. Just really is beautiful. If you've never seen it, look it up online.
Yep. Then St. Lucia's Day, this traditional festival of lights in Scandinavia honors St. Lucia, one of the earliest Christian martyrs. It was incorporated with earlier Norse solstice traditions after many Norsemen converted to Christianity around 1000 AD. As a symbol of light, Lucia and her feast day blended naturally with solstice traditions such as lighting fires to scare away spirits during the longest, darkest night of the year.
That's another thing that people don't know is some of the traditions during the longest night of the year, during Yule solstice, was that they tell ghost stories during.
Oh yeah, I had meant to do this. I have an entire book in there on ghost stories for.
Oh, that's awesome!
And the holiday, and I meant to post them, but I didn't.
Well, and think about it. One of the best We all are very familiar with one of the best ghost stories for Yule. The Night Before Christmas. Not the night before. Scrooge.
Carol.
Christmas Carol. Thank you. Oh my God.
And I go to watch it.
Yeah. And there's
year.
many different like iterations of it, you know? So for example, Spirited with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. You've got Scrooge with Bill Murray. Remember that one from the 80s? You know, there's a lot of iterations of that. But what we don't understand and what a lot of people don't know is that that was one of the original ghost stories told and taught to children on Yule.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, maybe I can post one today.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Dongji, the Chinese celebration of the winter solstice. Dongji, which means winter arrives.
It's beautiful.
Welcomes the return of longer days and the corresponding increase of positive energy in the year to come.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Toji, in Japan, the winter solstice is less a festival than a traditional practice centered on starting the new year with health and good luck. It's a particularly sacred time of year for farmers who welcome the return of sun that will nurture their crops after the long, cold winter. People light bonfires to encourage the sun's return. Huge bonfires burn on Mount Fuji each December 22nd. So today. No, tomorrow. Yeah. Shabi Yaldi, or Yalda night is an Iranian festival celebrating the longest and darkest night of the year. The celebration springs out of the ancient, I can't even begin to say that word, Zoroastrian, I believe,
Zoroastrian
traditions and customs which intend to protect people from evil spirits during the long night.
Nice.
On Shabi Yalda, which translates to night of birth, Iranians all over the world celebrate the triumph of the sun god Mithra over darkness. According to tradition, people gather together to protect each other from evil, bonfires to light their way through the darkness, and perform charitable acts.
But look, they're calling on their community to help them do it.
Yes, that's a big deal. And I love that each one of these traditions are very similar.
Oh, yeah.
They just call them different things.
Yep. Different names.
They do slightly different things. Native American traditions. For the Zuni, one of the Native American Pueblo peoples in western New Mexico, the winter solstice signifies the beginning of the year. It's marked with a ceremonial dance called a shalico. Nice. After fasting, prayer, and observing the rising of the setting of the sun for several days before the solstice, the Pequin, or sun priest, traditionally announces the exact moment of the Itawana, the rebirth of the sun, with a long, mournful call. So that's kind of like a ghost bringing it back. Like the Zuni, the Hopi in northern Arizona celebrated the winter solstice with a similar ritual. In the Hopi solstice celebration of Soyol, the sun chief takes on duties of the Zuni Pequin, announcing the setting of the sun on the solstice. An all-night ceremony then begins, including kindling fires, dancing, and sometimes gift-giving. Traditionally, the Hopi sun watcher was not only important to the winter solstice tradition, as his observance of the sun also governed the planting of crops and the observance of Hopi ceremonies and rituals all year long.
Again, living with the cycles of the earth.
Right, which, living in our concrete world,
it's hard for us
to do. But if you work at it, you can.
Well, and that's part of learning energy and becoming a witch too, is understanding that you have to become in tuned to those seasonal changes.
And creative.
Yeah, exactly. And know that it's a cycle. You'll do this every year.
Just because somebody says, that's one of the things in my classes when I taught them was, people would tell me, oh, so-and-so said it had to be done this way. And I would tell them, run, don't walk, get away from that person, because that's a control.
Take what you like, leave what you don't.
And make it work for you however it works.
And just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work for them. Just because it
Right.
does work for you means it may not work for another person.
And
that's where it goes back to honoring the perspective.
Right. And if you just take the basics,
Mhm.
like each one of these groups of people, they all have the basics in there.
Mhm.
They just do it a little different.
Right.
And so we need to respect how they do it if we want to be respected for
Exactly.
how we do ours.
Tit for tat, man. Tit
Yeah.
for tat.
And that is my problem. And this is kind of going off track a little bit. I know we never do that, but
Ever. Not
ever.
once.
That's my problem with, as a whole, I don't like to group people into
stereotypical things.
Yes. But that's my problem with Christianity is it must be done their way. Or you're nothing.
Yeah. I don't like
or
that.
Or you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Fear-based.
Yes.
That's very fear-based. I don't like fear-based.
And, the heathens out there.
Proudly one of them, raising my hand now.
We're more about the joy and
Yep.
the finding of good things. But we've allowed this other tradition to
appropriate
supersede what we think is important. Why? Because they're louder.
Also, we allow the other people's other.
Back up.
We're also need to become aware of the fact that we are allowing another person's judgment to rule us.
It's the same way with somebody telling you that this must be done this way.
Yeah, well, my brain doesn't.
Get away from him.
Yeah, well, and my brain may not work that way, so good luck with that.
Yeah, and so I love incorporating, like every year I try and take one of these and work it into the tradition of what we do.
With honor and respect.
Yes. And it's not because I want to be a Hopi Indian or whatever.
Right.
It's because I think the tradition is beautiful and I want to incorporate it into mine.
Oh, absolutely.
And if they find something that I do, like you said about the Yule log with putting the release and receive in there, if they wanted to use that, I would be overjoyed.
Exactly.
Not, oh my God, you've appropriated my tradition.
Well, but now with that said, we also don't want to be people to perceive that we are poo-pooing appropriation.
No,
not at all. Because we're not. No. I mean, there's reasons that I don't have white sage in my apothecary. It's because I am not Native American. They have asked us to stop using that.
Well, for one thing, it stinks.
Yeah, well, that too. And I can't breathe when it's work.
Tough.
But at the same time, I'm going to honor that because they asked us to not do that. And so, but yet I have also have First Nation friend or Native American friends that I have said, what about this? And they're like, oh, try it this way. And they actually will give you their perspective to help you with it. So we're not saying blah, 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 appropriate. We're saying when we do it with honor and respect.
Yes.
And if someone says, where does this come from? I immediately tell them what tradition and where they can find more information.
Exactly. It's important because we all are one people.
Yeah, that's right. Red thread everywhere.
Everywhere. So traditions, the Yule log or the bûcher de Noël, a Yule log is, well, a Yule log. It's a log.
It's a log.
Piece of wood.
It's a log.
Let's see. The Yule log tradition dates back to ancient times, well before the advent of Christianity. The term Yule itself is derived from the Old Norse word Jul or Jul, which referred to a midwinter festival celebrated by the Germanic peoples. I like how they put the Norse in with the Germanics. They're a little different.
They're a little different, but they are very similar.
Same area, but they're not the same. Same, but not.
Yep.
This festival, which occurred around the winter solstice, marked the shortest day and the longest night. So all of this is just, reiterating what we've already said.
Right.
Originally, the Yule log was an entire tree that was burned inside a house. I'd like to see that.
Well, nowadays we can't do that.
No.
That's bad for the lungs. Bad for the lungs.
This tree would be slowly fed into the fire throughout the 12 days of Christmas. Wouldn't you like that, Chad?
Yeah, no.
This would change as technology advanced, and there would be no need to heat a house with an entire tree.
Right.
So that's good. Now, I wanted to bring this information in just a little bit of the deities
Mm-hmm.
of Yule. Odin.
With
Duh,
Sleipnir.
that's not even a, you know.
Well,
don't
and
even have to
knowing
think
that
about that.
Odin's Sleipnir with
Mhm.
his 8 legs are the reason we have Santa Claus with 8 reindeers.
Right. So the Norse god associated with wisdom, poetry, healing, and the dead.
Yep.
During Yule, he was believed to ride through the night on an 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, to oversee the realm. So as I read these, you can start seeing where our traditions came from. Sun gods, Apollo, Sol, Invictus, deities symbolizing the rebirth of the sun and the return of light and warmth. Also Saturn as the god of time and cycles celebrated during Saturnalia. Freyr, Norse god of fertility and the sun, often honored during Yule for his connection to prosperity and light. Frigg, Norse goddess of motherhood and hearth, associated with warmth and protection during the winter season. Njord, the Norse god of the sea, wind, and fertility. He is sometimes associated with Yule season and is seen as a bringer of good fortune.
And let's say right here, for those people who are going, but I don't want a baby. There's more to fertility than pregnancy.
Right.
When you're working on a project, you are pregnant with creativity.
Mhm.
And when that art piece is done, you have given birth to that creativity. So when we say fertility, please don't immediately go to the reproductive system.
Right. Well, you are reproducing.
Well, yeah, but
not.
I'm not talking about the reproductive
Right.
system of the body's physiological biology.
So, Frau Holle, a Germanic goddess. Demeter, Greek goddess of the harvest and cycles of life and death. Cyrnos, Celtic god of nature, fertility, and the cycles of life.
See, now I've heard
the horned god.
I've heard his name pronounced as Cernunnos.
Oh,
I heard Cernunnos. I've heard Cernunnos. So just so you guys who are wondering,
Yeah.
I've heard it Cernunnos. So, but it's the Irish pagan god with the horns.
right. Amatera Terasu, which is a Japanese sun goddess whose myth reflects the return of light, often invoked during solstice celebration.
Nice.
Of course, St. Nicholas, Santa Claus.
We can't forget his brother.
Well, and we will. So while the modern Santa Claus is a blend of various cultural influences, including St. Nicholas and Father Christmas.
And Odin.
Odin he's the embodiment of it. Let's see. I lost my place.
I'm sorry. I threw you.
No.
I'm going to throw a curveball.
While the modern Santa Claus is a blend of various cultures' influences, including St. Nicholas and Father Christmas, there are intriguing links to Norse mythology and Yuletide traditions.
Mm-hmm.
So, Santa Claus is inspired by Odin, a major Norse god. And then, like you said, we have to include Krampus.
Yes.
Who goes after the naughty children.
Now, in lore, Krampus is Saint Nicholas's brother. And in some stories, he is his twin brother.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, if you guys have not seen Red 1, I really, really, really encourage you to do that, because they really do look at the German Yule traditions of Krampusnacht or Krampus night. And I would not want to have a slap fight with Krampus, but that is what one of the traditions long ago. I don't know if they still do it now, but to see who could slap the hardest. And it was this. There's other tribes where it's like, you can, one day a year, you get to go up to the person who you absolutely have issues with, and you get to fist fight or a slap fight with them. And when you're done, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
You've released the whole
Mhm.
thing and you're done. And that's kind of what the idea behind Krampusnacht is that you slap the shit out of each other, and once you both feel better, you're all better.
Well, sort of.
Right, yeah, except for, teeth crack, swollen jaw. But Krampus was the one who took care of the naughty, whereas Nicholas, or Santa, he was the one who rewarded the good.
Right.
So,
and I'm all about balance, so I like having both.
yeah, well, you
of
have your
those.
Krampus candles out
Right,
there.
right. Now, one of the deities that isn't in this list that is my personal favorite,
Mm-hmm.
she's on my altar.
Yes.
And that is the Kaliak. I
Yeah.
love, love, love her. I love old people anyhow, because in the lines in their face, their hands, everything, there's their life.
Stories.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the Kaliak, I always have her on my altar because she needs to be honored.
And you say Kaliak.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends who call her the Kalalish.
Oh, yeah. Kaliak is the Celtic.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kaliak. I will try to pronounce that properly from here on out.
Oh, no,
Kaliak.
no. I'm just,
Kaliak.
everybody has different ways of saying it, like Cyrnos and
Kernunos. But,
yes.
You want to also honor how a person says it, because to them, that's their tradition. Mm-hmm.
And she is, Baba Yaga.
Mm-hmm.
And
she is the crone.
Yes, she is the crone and needs to be honored. And so on my altar every year, she sits. It took me a long time to find a nice statue of her that would represent her well. And I honor her by, there's always a little bit of whiskey on there, because she likes.
Gotta warm them bones.
She likes her whiskey.
Gotta warm them bones.
And then
in Irish
treats,
too. Come on.
Yeah, treats on the table because that's what she likes.
Well, give old women candy, they smile.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I'm one of them.
And then, okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about the deities, we can move into some other little traditions like wassailers and Yule revelers. I know a lot of people are like, what the heck is that?
The wassailer.
Why did we even start that?
Oh, the wassailer's fun though.
They are. And the carolers, me. During Yule, the tradition of wassailing played a significant role in the celebrating of the season. Now, remember, it's pretty cold. You're going from house to house and you're getting a nice toddy.
Well, and by then too, back then, we weren't like neighborhoods like we are here in Portland where, it's 500 feet and you're at their door. It was fucking miles.
Yeah.
You walked 3 miles to the next farm to sing to them. Mm-hmm. And they usually invited you in for a respite. Yeah. Warm your bones, have some food. Here and that was
a big deal because it helped warm you.
Well, it gives you a fall. Okay, let's talk about the reality of that though. In today's day and age, we now know that it gives you an illusion of warming your body when in all actuality it cools your body off.
Well, and it also soothes your mind.
Yeah.
So you're not irritated about everything that's
can't feel my fingers, can't feel my toes.
And you laugh. And,
right.
And you're a little joyous. If you will.
Joyous, drunk, it depends on your perspective,
So, and they would go from house to house, orchard to orchard, singing songs, offering blessings, and sharing bowls of wassail, a spiced cider or ale. This act was both a joyous celebration and a ritual of goodwill meant to bring luck and prosperity to the households and trees, forests, fields that they visited. So, when people talk about that, sometimes people get irritated. Why do we have to have carolers? They're so stupid. That's just dumb.
Well, then there's people like me, but then there's people like me too that I would love to hear carolers. Mm-hmm. Don't fucking ask me to sing. Yeah. I cannot hold a tune. I understand music. I can play music. I love music. I am very music oriented. I'm a Gen Xer. We didn't have videos when I was a kid. It was all about the radio, all about musics and cassette tapes and records. But when it comes to asking me to sing, I used to be married to a musician that used to make fun of how I sang.
Oh, well.
And so
boo on
because of
him.
that, I'm very insecure about my own voice. And so you don't have to sing, but you can enjoy the sing.
Mhm.
So, like, for example, I have a community member who does a pagan sing every month. And that's for certain people who have been invited to it. I've been invited, and I've even talked to my elders with, this is really nice, but I don't sing.
Mhm.
And their response is, so come hang out and listen. And I was
Yeah.
like, really? Can I do that? And they were like, duh. You know, they looked at me like, are you okay,
can lip
Anya?
sync.
Right? Milli Vanilli, that bitch. Ooh, yeah, I'm on it.
So participate in however you choose.
Yeah, I mean, walk around, get drunk, and smile, and you could even be the conductor. Dun,
Yes.
dun, dun, dun.
If it makes you happy, go for
Do it. Just don't
So
hurt
the
anybody.
final day of Yuletide is New Year's Eve. Not many people know that. They
I
don't
do.
realize that Yuletide goes all the way to New Year's Eve.
The 12 days of Christmas came from the traditions that were used by the Norse and several other for the 12 days of Yule. For example, last night was Mother's Night.
Mhm.
Tonight is something else. I'd have to look it up. But every night you're honoring something for those 12 days.
Mhm. And it's just a symbol, but I mean, think about it. You use symbols in everything you do.
And also, that is where the Christians get the 12 days of Christmas.
Right. Yeah. So the final day, again, of Yuletide is New Year's Eve, or the end of the calendar year, marking the completion of one of the most sacred seasons. Contemporary celebrations blend customs from many traditions. They almost always involve some sort of party, compete with games, songs, drinking, and
Right.
of course, lots of fire.
Right.
The last of the Yule log is burned on this day, and torches and fireworks bring the party outside.
Yeah. So then you're going to take the blessings outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, it's just. So, sorry, we had to check a time here because we're a little bit over what we normally do, but it's Yule.
Might as well.
Yeah, we're giving you a little bit of extra
Mm-hmm.
because some of the stuff we talked about, I think, is very important for people to understand they're not alone in doing that.
Right.
You know?
And if you're feeling alone, there are community events. Go to them.
Yeah.
Enjoy them.
Yep.
You don't have to know anybody. Go there and meet people.
Right. Well, and you can even do the thing where you are in the underworld and you're coming out of the underworld. And so you do that by yourself on Yule and the days that follow Yule. And then on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, you go and you're out back in your community with your friends, your family, however you so choose to celebrate. So
for me, however you choose to celebrate is short of hurting somebody is fantastic. I love it. And I ask all of you to find something to celebrate during this time of year. Don't go inward and just sulk and.
well, and if you are going to go inward and sulk, then remember to come out. Okay? I'm going to close with a beautiful meme that I found on the internet today. It was done by what looks like the name is Vicky Liparasi in 2017. And it says, "My solstice wish for you. I wish for you to remember how strong you are and to stop doubting yourself. I wish for you to be able to feel safe, loved, and at ease inside of yourself. That you are able to find joy in the little things. I wish you to find your true purpose in life and embrace that higher calling, to surround yourself with people who make you feel wanted and loved. Most importantly, though, I wish for you to know that you are worth loving exactly as you are."
Repeat that last one more time. I think people need to hear that.
Most importantly, though, I wish for you to know that you are worth loving exactly as you are.
And on that note, we wish you a
Very
blessed holiday.
blessed holiday. Next month, we will be covering in bulk. That will end talking about all of the Sabbats that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then in February, we will be doing a whole episode on protections.
Mm-hmm.
So, witches, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you. Come on into the store, see both of us, one of us, however you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me online, www.sarahwitchery.com. Have a wonderful, blessed holiday, and we'll talk to you next month.
Aho.
And blessed,
Amen.
and blessed be.